A10 go. Alright, so I'm assuming you know some of you have purchased the A10 Charlie 2. So that's why I'm, gonna help y'all get the gist of, what the Mavericks do and stuff like that. So I'm basically gonna help you operate and manage the stuff like rockets and Mavericks and stuff, targeting pod. And for this tutorial, I'll, basically only be showing you how to operate targeting pod, your Gal 8, Maverick systems, and the rockets. That's all I'm gonna do unless I get more input onto, if more people or more individuals ask me to make more videos on it. So for right now, I'm only gonna be making this tutorial for the A10 Charlie. Possibly some more for the F-16. So let's go and get straight to the point. Let's go and get controls, right? I'm gonna hopefully attempt to help you understand the controls, but I will go into detail of what each keybind is for and what they do, and I'll be giving examples. I have my HOTAS system right over there, and I plan on recording, me where my controls are, just to give you an understanding of what they're used for, or not what they're used for, but what they can go to, as far as your setup goes. But I'd like to point out that everyone is different when it comes to how they operate modules. I know I'm completely different than others, and I tend to kind of have my controls not all the same as every single module, but pretty close to where I know where everything is, so I don't have to keep looking at the controls for that. My current setup is the X56 HOTAS from Logitech. It used to be a different company, but I can't remember the exact name for it. So let's go and get into the controls, right? You'll first need your TMS switch, or Target Management System switch. It's basically there to create marks within the targeting pod, or TGP for short, broadcasting your SPI, marking targets, and creating a mark on the target that you have waypoint. SPI basically stands for Sensor Point of Interest, so whenever let's say there's another A10 Charlie in the area, they will see your SPI, essentially, which is pretty cool. Hey, how's it going? It's feature me for the second time, because I cannot English very well. So what I mean by long and short, right here on my HOTAS, I have TMS, my DMS, and my trim, data management system, or storage, or whatever you want to call it, and target management system, or target management switch. What I mean by long and short is let's say for example I wanted to create a mark and then create the mark as a SPI. I would go TMS right short, right? TMS right short, which means you just press TMS right. And then let's say I wanted to create that mark as a SPI. I would then do TMS right long, which means I would press TMS right, but hold it for a good, I would say 2 to 3 seconds. And that's what I essentially mean by TMS long and short. So yeah, short, press it for a split second. TMS long, or long would be holding it down for a good second or two. Next, let's go ahead and get your DMS set up, or data management switch. It's basically used to for zooming the targeting pod. Once you have that, your MFCD, I believe it's called, which is your right monitor or left monitor Those are called your MFCDs. If you have that as SOI, sensor of interest, I believe that's what it's called, I could be wrong. You can essentially just press your DMS up or down to zoom it. But it's also used for cycling steer points, cycling your gun sights, etc. Now we have your coolie switches. They're basically used for cycling your MFCDs. Let's say coolie switch left, right? That would cycle the left MFD. So all you have to do is press that your coolie switch left short, and then that'll cycle through the pages on the left in MFCD. Let's say you have your Mavericks page up and you want that to be center of interest. All you would have to do is press TMS, or fucking TMS, dude. I can't. All you would have to do is press your coolie switch left long, and that should make it the center of interest. Now you have your China hats. It's basically used to slave your Mavericks to your speed, toggling your FOV, resetting the cursor, and much more. Essentially, let's say I have my targeting pod up, right, and I created a mark, and I created that mark as a speed. I would basically, if I were to go off of that mark, all I would have to do is press China hat forward long, and that should basically tell the targeting pod, okay, go back to the speed, go back to this mark, and it'll do that. Next, you have your boat switches. They're important, not at the same time. They're basically used for changing your targeting pod to black hot, white hot mode, as well as changing your Maverick symbols to black or white. Now that we have that all aside, let's go ahead and move on to the aircraft systems. First start with the main gun, the BRRRRRRT, as I like to call it, or also known as the GAL 8. It has two modes for the operation, one being gun arm, which simply all you have to do is press the trigger and it'll, fire. However, it's not, it doesn't help you at all, because you press fire, but your aircraft's still going to be moving, whenever you pitch up, down, it's still going to be. However, gun pack arm would be, you have your first detent trigger and your main trigger. Let's say I wanted to continue to send out rounds to that target. All I would have to do is is make sure my gun pack arm is armed, which should be the top. And then all I have to do is just press that first detent trigger and start sending rounds by, pressing the trigger all the way. And it should just stay within that range that you've held the gun trigger first stage. So all you really need to do is bind your gun trigger and your gun trigger first stage. One thing to mention is your gun trigger is only used for the GAL 8. You're going to have to set up your weapons release button for firing Mavericks, dropping bombs, etc. Next you have your master control button, or master mode control button. Essentially that cycles through the modes, and you have 4 modes: your nav, guns, CCIP, and CTRP modes. CCRP would be, let's say you have CB97s. CCIP would be the Mavericks, rockets, CBU 87s, stuff like that. Guns is just your GAL 8. Nav is just whenever you're just cruising, trying to go to your destination. Next, you don't want to forget your nose wheel steering button, NWS for short, and your brakes. Another thing you're gonna need is your HOTAS slew horizontal and vertical. This can be, found in the axes command section. If you don't have a place to bind those axes, let's say you ran out of joysticks. Let's say you ran out of room on your HOTAS, and you don't have, you know, an axes command to put that slew or slew command, you can essentially use HOTAS slew down, left, right, and up on your keyboard. Or yeah, let's go and get armed up. I'll walk you through the stages of what to do next whenever you are armed. I like to mention I will only be running one setup. Like I said, I'm only going to be running. I'm only going to be showing you guys how to use the Gal 8 targeting pod, Mavericks, as well as the rockets. So I highly recommend using the same loadout as me. After getting armed up, one thing to mention, you must load your profiles before takeoff. And that can be found like after you hear the rearming complete. You can go into your left MFCD, go to the DCS or load page, hit load targeting pod. Whenever you press load targeting pod, all of the dots are going to disappear except for the targeting pod. And then whenever that targeting pod is ready and loaded, every single button is going to show up again, essentially. And then you can hit load DCS. Now, after I load the targeting pod, I turn the targeting pod on and get that warmed up, and then I go into the Mavericks page on the left MFCD by pressing the Nav button, or, you know, cycling through the MFCD using the Cooley switches. And then the Mavericks, they should take up to 3 minutes before you can use them. This allows you to, you know, get everything else set up. Next, what I typically do is I use my DMS up or down to cycle through the steer points. After that, after you have your Mavericks installed, you can go ahead and select them in the dismiss page as they load up, and it will save a bit of time. Then after you take off, what I like to do is go ahead and arm the gun, master arm, laser on. This is the fastest way I can go ahead and get my systems ready before getting to the AO, or area of operations. Next, after your targeting pod has warmed up, all you have to do is just press air to ground mode at the top. I believe it's the second or third button at the top. All you have to do is just press air to ground mode, and then once the air to ground mode is on, you can just go ahead and put that right MFCD to soy by holding your right Cooley switch. And then what I typically do from there is I target my targeting pod to the waypoint by holding China hat aft long. Then I typically slew my targeting pod, or set my targeting pod to black hot by pressing boat switch aft short. Then I broadcast my speed just in case, you know, another 18 Charlie player comes up beside me. And once finding a target with the targeting pod, I typically hover over the target, create the target as a mark by pressing TMS right short. Then immediately after, creating the last mark as speed by pressing TMS right long. Once the target has been marked as speed, switch over to the MAF page on your left MFCD panel and mark it as soy. After the Mavericks page has left, after the Mavericks page on the left is selected, I go ahead and make sure my Mavericks are pointing to the mark. So I go ahead and, you know, slew my Mavericks to that speed by pressing China hats forward long. And then after you get your Mavericks lined up to your target and you're close enough, the maximum distance you can lock a target from is 8 miles. From what I've seen and from my experience, it's 8 miles, and then anything below 8 miles you can go ahead and lock on and fire some Mavericks on. on them. But in order to get a lock on the target, because whenever you slew your Mavericks to that target, to that speed, it's not locked on. So you're gonna have to, what I typically do is I just, you know, slew it very slightly and it should lock onto the target. And once it's locked, the crosshairs should close up a little bit more and the cross indicator should start flashing. And all you have to do now is just press your weapon release keybind, and then it should send one away. And after that, just feel free to continue locking targets and slinging some Mavericks down range. It'll slowly get easier over time. Every time you fire more, it'll slowly start building up muscle memory. But I do recommend, you know, only using Mavericks, you know, on AAA, SAM sites, tanks, and any armored vehicle. I don't recommend using Mavericks for, you know, Urals or anything like that, because that's what your BRRRRRRT's for. Your just to save some Mavericks, just in case there's a SAM site, you know, hiding in the distance. But yeah, one thing I should 100% mention: do not get too close. Time and time again, and including in this video, I get too close, and either AAA or Stingers blow me away. I tend to not get too high also, because that's easier for the SAMs to basically fire at me, and that's not. If I'm up, you know, 10,000 feet and they start firing at me, I'm gonna have to dip down, get low anyway. So I typically stand between 1 to 5,000 feet. I don't want to get any lower than 1,000 feet unless I'm being shot at by, you know, the SAM sites. But typically 1 to 5,000 feet, I start sending rockets out. Now once you're you know, you're comfortable and stuff like that, or you run out of Mavericks, now let's get you started with the BRRRR cannon. And now that you want to use your master BRRRR cannon, you can go ahead and use your master mode control button to swap through. Next, all you have to do is get lined up with your target without getting too close. Keep in mind that, and just fucking cinder. Don't forget to use your trigger first attempt if you're making, or if you're using the pack setting on the BRRRR, or your pack arm, whatever you want to call it. But I do want to recommend continue to use your targeting pod to mark your targets, even if you are just doing a BRRRR run, due to it helps keep track of your targets, so you don't have to lose sight of your target to turn around, you know, and have to visually find your target again. I just recommend using your targeting pod, slewing to it, creating that mark, and yeah. Now let's go ahead and move to the rockets. All you really need to do now is just go to your dismiss page on the left and MFCD, select your rockets on the pylons, and all you need to do now is just switch into the CCIP mode through your master mode control button. Simply press weapon release whenever you're firing, but keep in mind these rockets can't be shot from long distances, so you're gonna have to get a bit closer. They're not like the Mavericks, so you can't be, you know, 8 miles away and start sending the rockets out. You're gonna have to be, I would say, 3 miles or closer.
Rifle 2-8.
And just don't be like me when firing rockets. Just don't get on top of the target before firing the rockets.
Pull up.
Rifle.
But yeah, that's the basics of the Eaton Charlie 2. I put a lot of time and effort into this video. I've been reading a script this entire time. It's just, man, a lot of time, paragraphs. But yeah, it would be really greatly appreciated if you would like and subscribe. So I know you want to see more tutorials or just want to see more content in general. The server I mainly play on is Red Hawk's PvE server. However, for the recording of this video, I was playing Through the Inferno PvE. I can't remember the exact name. But yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you get some help with this. Fuck. But yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you got a little help with this video. I do have a Discord and I stream on Twitch. Here's my Discord right here. I'll put it right there. And here's my Twitch as well. I'll put it right there. Twitch.tv/RazorWolf2. That's where I'm on right now, as far as Twitch goes. I'll be streaming once this video goes out. So feel free to say hi in there whenever you see me streaming. And yeah, that's me. My name is Kyle. I'd love to help out with DCS modules, so that's why I'm making this tutorial. I'm not the best at teaching. My words sometimes don't come out as well as I want them to, but I hope I got the point across, and I hope I helped some of you out. Or if I didn't help out enough, or I just didn't get the point across, there is plenty of trainers on Red Hawk's PvE server. Here's their Discord right here. They have personal trainers that will help you get through the module and help you understand it more, so you can be efficient. And yeah, they help out a lot. They help me out sometimes too, you know. Whenever I first started the getting into the Eaton Charlie 2, one of the admins, Abby Chinen, he helped me out a lot. So thank you. And that community in general, it's amazing. You know, it's everyone there is nice and respectful. So yeah, that's me. That's them. Feel free to go check them out too. They're great. I hope you have a good day. I spent a good few days, you know, trying to get to know what I wanted to do exactly as far as tutorials wise. So I figured I'd just do what I like doing best, you know, being a weird ass VTuber, as they call it nowadays. And yeah, feel free to like and subscribe. Have a good day. See ya.